Welcome. In front of me is a Huawei Nova 14 Pro, and today I will show you how you can go through the setup process of this device. So, when you boot up this phone for the first time, you should be presented with the same screen that you can see on my end, which is the language selection page and the worst list that you can possibly imagine, which is just like bubble that aren't even organized in a neat way. So find your language from these atrocious bubbles, and once you do, you're just gonna click on it and then click on get started. Now before we continue on, I do want to also point out, if you have some kind of problems with seeing, you can actually go into the reading aid, and in here, for instance, turn on magnification or change things like the font size. Now moving on, we can select our region. We have a multitude of different regions right here. Let's see if I can find Poland. Poland, and it's not here. Of course it's not. Apparently Poland doesn't exist. Great. What happened? Did we get like taken apart again? I don't know why this is pissing me off a little bit, as we have other regions, but hey, Poland doesn't exist. Now anyway, in here I would recommend choosing something that isn't, possibly might not be where you're from. So I'd be recommending some specific region that is part of European Union, and the reason for that is kind of baseless, I would say, but the idea is that by selecting European Union, if there is some kind of changes and laws which primarily happen in European Union that are consumer friendly, if you select that kind of region, you should be hypothetically affected by it. So give you an example, if for instance European Union tomorrow decides that what's here, like that for instance, for I don't know, Google can display ads, let's just say it this way, because it's freaking annoying, right? Google, out of that one, or sorry, Google is probably a bad example here, as this is technically not Google, this is Huawei's own system. So just say Huawei, if they plan to sell devices in Europe, they can no longer display ads anywhere, so they have to block them themselves, right? And if Huawei doesn't do that, obviously they wouldn't be able to sell the phones. So if they want to continue selling their phones, they would need to get rid of ads from, for instance, their applications, and do anything, comply basically with the change of law. And by selecting that you are from this region, hypothetically this would probably affect you if you're from here, or you selected that if you're from here. So that being said, Huawei would probably only comply with this law where they're forced to, as let's be honest, ads are one of the biggest ways for corporations to make money. Look at Google. That's literally how they're in business. So in this case, they would only comply in European Union and ignore every other place and maintain the status quo that they have been doing. So that's why I recommend choosing it to be like European Union here. Anyway, let's move on to terms of use. Now here we have user agreement and basic service statement, data encryption notice. Now, I find this to be absolutely annoying here. So we have, considering this is Huawei, we have things like the end user software license agreement, like cool. It's basically just a legal information that if something, we probably can sue them. I haven't actually read this, to be completely honest. No one really does read this. Basic service statement. Now the one that pisses me off is the last one, data encryption notice. Your data is encrypted by default. You can erase all user data from this device by resetting it to factory settings. Well, cool that my data is encrypted. Have you maybe, I don't know, thought about mentioning who can decrypt it? Just a crazy fucking idea here. Who can decrypt it? That's a simple question. It's like telling me that, yes, your house is locked, but you know what? Every neighbor around you has a key to your house. Great. How does that help me? So that's one thing. Another thing is that because this is still running on Android isn't necessarily the most secure operating system, and I'm pretty sure like literally every government has now back access to this bullshit. Like they can just straight up access it at any point through different means if they want to, then the data encryptions mean absolutely jack shit, and it's as meaningless as that key that locks your device, where everyone around you has a key to your place anyways. Anyway, next we have insert SIM card. Now you can do this right now, or you can skip it, but because the setup isn't designed to allow you to set up the device the way you want to, if you choose to skip it, you will be forced to connect to network, because God forbid you would be able to complete the setup without, I don't know, connecting to network. What, Winnie the Pooh doesn't appreciate me not giving away my data? So obviously you're forced to do something in a setup that is designed to give you choices. But here we don't have a choice. Then what the hell is the point of a setup then? So I guess I'm going to be forced to connect to the shitty network, because God forbid I could be able to use a smart device without being connected to network, right? It's apparently not smart enough to allow me to do that. So let's continue. Next we have data and privacy, which is just comical statement from Huawei. We're going to continue on without even acknowledging that. Huawei running on Android. Do we need to say more? Next, we have data protection, device protection. Now, this is something that I recommend setting up, as it's your phone. So if you have any kind of photos, videos, personal information here, if you lose your device, it's probably best that whoever finds it doesn't have an easy access to that data. And that would be by basically setting up PIN, pattern, or password, and then adding on top of that maybe fingerprint or face recognition. Now, fingerprint or face recognition doesn't add additional security. It just makes unlocking the device a little bit easier. And you do need to have PIN, pattern, or password as an unlocking method if you're planning to use either fingerprint, face recognition, or both, as these two are biometrics, and biometrics aren't 100% reliable. Now, I'm going to select a pattern right here. So by default, it opts into a 6-digit PIN, but we can change the password type right here. And I'm gonna, like I said, select pattern. This is what I personally use, so there we go. I'm gonna repeat it twice and then click on done, and that's set up. Now automatically it's gonna also prompt me to add one of these or both of them if I want to, or I can just set it up later. Also know that everything that you do throughout the setup can be changed later on. Next we have parental control. As you can select it here, set it up if you want to. I don't have kids, so I'm just going to be skipping it. Anyway, next, Huawei ID. This is basically the equivalent of iPhones like iCloud or whatever they have there. It's being displayed in a very similar manner. It's trying to kind of get you into signing up for it. So we have cloud storage, Find My Device, AppGallery, which is basically App Store or Play Store, Huawei Wallet, again just wallet, Huawei Videos, which is video, which for some reason requires an account. Okay. Oh, I know why. Possibly it allows you to rent videos or shows or something like that. That's why. Same goes for music. It acts like Apple Music. So anyway, we're going to select continue, even if you don't want to use it. This takes us to the login page. Now, if you don't want to use it, you will select the obviously most retarded idea, which is don't have Huawei ID or forget password, which in that statement, I never mentioned anything that you don't want to sign in. It's the same thing on iPhones. And then you can select maybe later. Now, it could have been visible on a previous page. It could have also said skip. But hey, I'm going to select leave here, at least I am. Now, truth be told, you probably might be interested in signing into the Huawei ID, as it does give you access to things like the AppGallery. And even if you don't want to use it, if you want to download any applications from AppGallery, you will need to have it. And that being said, you can sign into it, download MicroG from it, which is basically Play Services, and download Play Store later on, and then get rid of the Huawei account if you want to. But to start off, you will need it, unless you can find it somewhere on the browser. Now, anyway, moving on, we have the HMS Core, which the most important thing in here is the add ID statistics. We're going to straight away turn that garbage off, because it's just basically a tracking bullshit that is trying to get information on you and kind of categorize you and then give you ads. Same as the second option, personalized ads. Disable this garbage, and we can move on. So disable both of these, as these are ad related, to give you relevant ad and also kind of create profiles on you and what ads you should be getting. So obviously we don't need those. You don't get paid for this bullshit, so why should you deal with this? As long as you don't get paid for this, I believe that you shouldn't be sharing or getting any kind of bullshit related to ads or sharing data until you do get paid, and you can start thinking about it. Anyway, next we have enhanced services. You can read over this, what it is. I have this idea that usually what these are, they're basically trying to get you to share data with them so they can quotation mark improve how the device works or bullshit like that. You paid for this device. It's not in your interest to share your data so they can improve the goddamn device. It should have been improved when you bought it. Other things, it's on them. If they want to improve it, by all means do it, but do it without my data. So no thanks. Same thing goes here. User experience improvement programs. Yep, nope, you're not getting data. Piss off. Share analytics. Nope, go F yourself. Location services. Now this could be questionable if you want to select, technically you're selecting later, so you're not really disabling it here, to be completely honest. You can select enable. Obviously it's enabled. Later probably is enabled too. Actually, we're going to check it out. We're going to select later. Now moving on, we have keep your software up to date. Now you can select enable and continue if you want to have your software update automatically, or you can select update manually and then select don't enable to be responsible for updating it yourself by going into the settings and checking for it. Next, we have import data, and you can do this through basically phone clone application that Huawei has. So if you have an old device, you can move data from that device to this one by downloading phone clone. Now keep in mind, there is a version of this application in both Play Store and App Store for iPhones and Androids. But in both cases, these applications that you will find from Huawei themselves on there are outdated, as Huawei was not able to update this application for several years since the ban. So if you're planning to do this, you will need to download that application from the browser by looking for Huawei's own website and downloading it from there. This one will be the up-to-date option version of it that will allow you to connect these devices together and move the data from old device to this one. It's a great way to get all your data to this new device, and I highly recommend utilizing it, as it just works flawlessly and it's pretty extensive in how much it allows you to actually move of the data, unlike, for instance, restoring from a cloud backup of Google. That's pretty shit. This is pretty good. So anyway, moving on, I'm going to set it up as new, as I don't have anything that I want to restore. And here we have the navigation style, which is by default gestures. So you can click right here, change navigation method to use buttons if that's what you prefer to do. But I'm going to stick with gestures and click on finish. Now, before finishing, it's supposed to, like literally the button should be doing, it blocks me with the AppGallery. Would you download all this bullshit? Hey, you want all this shit here? Next, we're going to download it, but we're going to select all and then deselect all and move on to next. Unless you want some of them, then by all means check them and go next. I love that pop-up. You may receive app recommendations. Thanks. I love getting ads. Now, one last thing that I was saying that I will check is the location. And look at that, it's actually off. Okay, so this button actually turns off the location to some extent. Anyway, if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.